My name is Todd Bigelow. I'm a freelance photographer for the past 30 years based in Los Angeles, the founder of the Business of Photography Workshop, an adjunct professor of photography and photojournalism, and the author of a book on freelance business practices. This is a short video series where I address business practices that freelancers should be aware of. Hope you enjoy. Hey everybody. Thank you for stopping back by. We're in the first week of June. Hope everybody's doing well, preparing for maybe a nice little summer outside of the pandemic. So just a personal note that I hope everybody is doing well. Let's jump right back into it. I want to talk a little bit today about workflow. This is a touchy subject because I know that most photographers have their own workflow. And as I say with just about everything that I advise on, if it works for you, wonderful. You don't need to change anything, obviously. But I like to bring up a few things that sometimes people don't always consider. So if you'll give this a few minutes and maybe there's something that you can take from it that is useful and apply to your own workflow. Okay, so basically my workflow starts when I'm shooting. Okay, so I shoot obviously a very wide variety of things even when I'm on a specific assignment. Okay, so I think that goes into assignment work anyways. Sometimes you have some direction on what you're looking for, what the particular shoot is about. But oftentimes you're given enough leeway to interpret a shoot as you see fit. In more, in certain examples, there'll be things that are much more relevant to the assignment that you're shooting, and certain things perhaps where it's a little bit outside of the exact, significance of the assignment. And those are the images that I like to make sure that I also capture and incorporate into my post-production and so forth. Let me give you a very specific example. If you're out doing a travel shoot or an outdoor shoot, an adventure shoot, or something along that, lifestyle shoot, anything along that lines, and you are on assignment and you're given a specific, perspective. For example, let's say some budget travel website or some, Frommers or something like that asks you to do a shoot in Italy in the Venice canals. Okay, they're looking for gondoliers and, people enjoying the canals and so forth. Great. Obviously, you go shoot that. But what if on the way to shooting that, you walk through a cute little square and there's, people playing soccer, kids playing soccer in a square and laundry's hanging out and this kind of just the life of, a small European town square. Would you walk right by that on the way to the Venice canals to shoot the assignment, or would you stop and take some time to shoot? I would stop and take some time to shoot, and I have done that, although not even on specific assignment, but to go shoot a lot of stock photography in the canals. Obviously I came across a lot of lifestyle stuff that I like. So my workflow begins when I'm actually out shooting so that I don't go in with just a mindset of only one thing to shoot and come back out. I need to expand my thinking and my horizon so I can expand my archive. Second part of that, obviously, now that we're into the workflow, is editing the workflow. So edit loosely, right? Don't edit so tight for, again, if you're on assignment just for your client. But when you do that initial edit loosely, okay? You can always tighten that up later on what you make available and what you make viewable and so forth. But I go through countless examples in my workshop, in my book, on some pretty mediocre images that I've been able to license and make available to others that I would never put like out front into a portfolio, but have become images that are somewhat in demand. Okay, so whether it's 1 time, 2 times, 5 times, I don't care. If I can license an image and create some revenue, I'm going to do that. So I edit very loosely. That's the second part to my workflow. The third part is, having that good workflow set up specifically what programs you're going to use and so forth. And this is where people get very set in their ways, and that's great. Whatever you got going, make it work for you. Mine is very efficient, and it's based on editing loosely and creating enough opportunities for me outside of whatever assignment I was perhaps shooting and editing for, to also incorporate making those images available later. So I try to do all that editing in one sitting. So my workflow incorporates basically ingesting into PhotoMechanic, and I do use the ingest feature where I set up the metadata information, the IPTC. I set up before I even insert the card so that a very generic caption is placed on everything from that shoot as it's ingested into the folder, as it's downloaded onto my computer. So basically I have a really good IPTC. All my metadata is built in as the images are downloaded into my computer. It saves a really nice step as far as having to put all that in later. Okay. Then I do an edit. And when I'm doing that edit, oftentimes if I'm editing, let's say a travel type of situation, I'm going to assign it different stars. Okay, so maybe 5 stars is specifically for the client. 4 stars might be, something that's not necessarily exactly right for the client. And 3 stars might just be something that's very generic and not all that great. Okay. So if I'm under some sort of time frame and I need to just get something out to a client, then I can then go in Lightroom when I get to that stage and only select the 5 stars and get those out to my client. But in the PhotoMechanic stage, I'm going to select basically anything that's halfway decent. If it's wildly out of focus, throwing it away. Right? If it's, if I, shot the back of somebody's head by accident, okay, it's gone. But the point is, I'm doing a very loose edit with that. Okay. And I'm using basically the star method for it. Once I do that quick edit in PhotoMechanic, which is very fast, okay, I export those images into Lightroom. Okay. That's the application I prefer. I've long used it, and it preserves the rating system. So now again, when I go into Lightroom, now is where I'm going to be doing my obvious adjustments to each image. And I can select based on my rating system in PhotoMechanic how and what images I choose to use. Okay, choose to edit right away. If I'm not on any deadline, if this is just a stock shoot or an archive shoot or something like that, then obviously there's no pressing need, and I'm just going to begin by editing everything. So I'm going to select anything that has 3 stars. Okay, so if it's something that where I did do a 3-star, 4-star, 5-star rating, anything with 5 stars already has 3 stars, so it's going to incorporate it. Okay, so basically I'm going to go in now and adjust those images. I'm going to do all my basic adjustments. I'm going to now do image specific metadata applications, specifically with keywords, titles, relevant caption information. All of the other metadata that is very important for SEO, search engine optimization, and for licensing using the Google badge has already been embedded through the ingest process with PhotoMechanic. So I don't have to go do anything like that. All I have to do at the Lightroom stage is image specific information. If there's another person in the photograph that I want to make sure the keyword goes into there. If the general caption isn't relevant enough for a very specific image, then I quickly add that information at this stage. Now I'm going to output, obviously. I'm going to output at 300 dpi, and I'm going to make the longest edge, an option in Lightroom, at least 20 inches. Now that's going to depend on your camera system, but that is not a reach by any standard for any professional camera system. I'm using the Canon R5. Obviously these are massive files. That's no problem at all. The reason is that I work with a couple of different agencies, and I do know that especially with my outdoor and adventure work, that those images need to be a certain size if they're going to be made available for large use. Let's say a billboard or a bus ad or anything along the lines where the image is going to need to be large. So I'm going to make sure that on that output, that image meets basically anybody's needs. I don't want to go back in and have to redo things. I try to take care of it all in one efficient workflow. Okay, so I export those images into a new folder. Now I'm going to export again. So why would I export twice? Copywriting. Okay, so while I have everything there, right there in Lightroom, I now go and I just hit it's done exporting the high res. I hit export again. I go down to the resolution size and I change it to 100 dpi and I change it to 6 inches on the longest edge, or 600 pixels. That is a requirement and a recommendation by the US Copyright Office for when you have to upload your deposit or your little thumbnail images for copywriting. I do it right there, okay, so that everything is ready. Now I export that to a new folder for copywriting, okay? The next step in my workflow, the 5th step, so I'm going from, shooting to editing loosely, ingesting into PhotoMechanic, and then, into Lightroom. Then I export twice, that's the 4th step. Okay, I'm exporting out of Lightroom, high res and low res for copywriting. The 5th step is I'm copywriting right now. Okay, and the reason is because they're unpublished. They haven't gone anywhere. Okay, I know they're unpublished. Go back and watch the copyright videos. I'll give you a very brief tutorial right now. You cannot register published and unpublished together. And it's up to you to decide what is published and what is unpublished. So for my workflow, doesn't have to be yours, but for mine, a vast majority of the time, this is when I register the work because I know it's unpublished. The spreadsheet that I have to upload with the images is faster and easier to create when they are unpublished images. So right now, I take that folder, I do everything that's required for copywriting. Again, I go through this in other videos, and it is step by step. Shameless book plug here. In my book that was just published this week on how to go through the entire copywriting process. But that's what I do there, okay? Right now, I copyright the images. It takes me, having done it a number of times, maybe 15 minutes. Okay, it's a pretty fast process. Maybe the first couple times a little slower, but it's it's just a step-by-step process. I'm very comfortable with it, so I can get it done very quickly. Once I'm done copywriting, I upload and make those images available if it allows through embargoes, if it's assignment work, whatever. I upload those to my archive, to my website. Okay, oftentimes I'll make them unavailable for anybody to see until any embargo is passed if they were on assignment. If it's just stock, I'm going to make those images available, okay, and open for licensing. So that's the 6th step. The 6th step, I'm going to upload to my archive, which again, I use a PhotoShelter archive, and I have complete control over how and where that work is distributed. 7th step of my workflow is obviously I'm going to need to make people aware of my work. So I raise awareness through social media, through maybe my blog about writing about a particular shoot. I make those images available to my agency if that's something that I need to do, and that is often what I do, particularly with my outdoor work. I upload those to Cavan Images, and we go through the keywording process for specifically for that platform, which is something I'm doing actually today. So raising awareness of your work through social media, agencies, blogging, whatever it is that you're doing. I do suggest that you maybe go a little bit further than just putting it out once or twice on Instagram or Twitter or whatever you're using. Stay up to date on anything that is relevant to the shoot that you just completed, so that maybe 6 months from now, if there's a reason those images became relevant again, if there's some news value to it, stay up to date on those things and recommit to making people aware of those images by tweeting out some watermarked images or posting on Instagram some watermarked images with links back to that work. Okay, so the reason to make people aware is to get them back to your site. So that's part of that workflow. Okay, make sure that people are landing back on your site and hopefully finding that work, or at least becoming aware of who you are as a photographer, and maybe even hiring you. Okay, because that's the ultimate end game with our workflow, is to raise awareness of our work so that people either hire us or license the work. Okay, so that's my workflow. It's kind of a 6-7 step process depending on how you want to break it out. But again, it's starting with the shooting, so that I'm very open-minded on the shooting. A loose edit, running through PhotoMechanic, and then ingesting or moving those over into Lightroom, exporting twice out of Lightroom, once for high res, once for copywriting the images, uploading to my website, and any other agencies that I'm affiliated with, and then raising awareness of that work. Okay, so there's always a lot to do. Obviously, as freelancers, I just wanted to give you just a little bit of insight into how my workflow typically goes. Okay, so thank you so much for stopping back by. Hope to see you again.